Lab number 17 has to do with looking at minerals that are common in sedimentary rocks. These mineral labs should start feeling a bit comfortable to you. We've done the Mohs hardness minerals and the igneous minerals. Now we're doing the sedimentary minerals. So mostly what I'm going to do here is give you some clues as to what these different minerals will look like. We have our introduction, as usual, and the idea that we're going to identify common rock-forming minerals associated with sedimentary rocks. We're going to be doing this online, so we're not going to be doing exactly what's instructed here. These are the minerals that you're going to be looking at. And remember, they're listed here alphabetically. They are not in order. They are minerals 11 to 22, but you have to figure out which one's number 11, which one's number 12, etc. There is a very short pre-lab section with some pre-lab questions, and then after you're done with your procedure, the post-lab questions. A typical mineral table is shown here, where you're going to have the numbers, 11 to 22, I'm just showing one page here, the hardness, the luster, the color, the streak, etc. Now let me just jump back for a second. Many of the videos that you're going to see are going to describe the hardness of these minerals. So what I might recommend is before you even get started, go to your mineral identification charts in the back of your lab and write down the hardness next to each of these. It's going to be handy as you watch the videos. Remember where the videos are. You go onto our Canvas site under Minerals and Rock Videos and you select Physical Geology Mineral Videos, and then you can either download the Excel spreadsheet or just click on these various numbers here. If I scroll down, they go all the way down to 45. Again, this lab is looking at numbers 11 to 22. Okay, so a little bit of help on what you're looking for. You'll see that we have two minerals that are both called calcite, and they are both the same chemical formula as calcite, CaCO3. They're quite different from each other, but there's one similarity that they have that distinguishes them from most other minerals, and that is that they react to dilute hydrochloric acid when placed on them. So if you see the mineral being tested in the video with a little drop of hydrochloric acid, and it makes a fizz, which is basically carbon dioxide bubbles, then you know you have calcite. Now, these are different in that calcite Icelandic spar has a hardness of 3, which you learned from Mohs hardness. And then this variety, VAR means variety, called chalk, has a hardness of 1, and it is pretty much what we use on the chalkboard. So it looks like chalk, it's soft, you can scratch it with your fingernail, and it also reacts to hydrochloric acid. The Icelandic spar has a very distinct shape. It has this rhombohedral shape, or sometimes it looks like a cube that's kind of been skewed sideways. Here's a very nice picture of a calcite specimen right here. So again, the chalk looks very much like chalk, but there is another mineral here that we'll get to that looks like chalk, but does not react to hydrochloric acid. So you want to make sure you realize what those two are. The next three minerals are all called chalcedony, and these are all a variety of microscopic quartz that forms in the oceans. The varieties here have different colors, making them a bit easy to distinguish from each other. Flint tends to be dark gray or black. Jasper tends to be red, yellow, or brown, so there is a range there. And then moss agate, agates in general are banded or layered. They have layers in them. So that's one way to tell the three apart. All three of them, as I said, are made of microcrystalline quartz. So they have the same hardness as quartz, and I'll let you look that up in Mohs hardness scale, but when you see the people in the video testing a mineral against quartz and deciding it has the same hardness as quartz, then you've probably got one of your three chalcedonies here. Also, remember, quartz has no cleavage, it fractures, and it often fractures in a conchoidal sense with a kind of scalloped look. And so in some cases, the people showing you the videos will point out a scalloped fracture, a conchoidal fracture. Next, we have two different kinds of gypsum, which form in sedimentary environments where there's a lot of evaporation. Both of these have the same hardness, which is 2 on Mohs hardness scale, so both of these can be scratched with your fingernail. The variety that's called alabaster tends to be massive, meaning there's no clear cleavage, and it has an orange or a peach color. The satin spar is fibrous and tends to be white, and here's a picture of it right here. You can see this fibrous nature. Those are actually the individual gypsum crystals. But again, you could scratch this with your fingernail. Next we have halite. Halite, I hope you recall by now, is salt. The unique thing about halite, besides its taste, which you can't do, unfortunately, is that it's cubic. Okay, so here are some really nice museum specimen examples, very clear. You can see right through them. Here's some less clear samples, but halite has that cubic cleavage, that cubic crystal shape, so that makes it very distinct from all the rest here. Nothing else in this list has a cubic cleavage. Now we move on to hematite. And hematite is an iron ore. So the ores in general tend to give a dark streak. Everything up here, I didn't really mention, but everything up here pretty much gives a light color or colorless streak. But the hematite is unique because it has a very red streak. We're seeing hematite here in the sedimentary minerals. We're also going to see hematite again in the metamorphic minerals and in the ore minerals. But this is our first hematite. All three kinds have a red streak. So this one is called oolitic, and that's a weird word because it's made of something called ooids. And ooids are these little round concretions, and we can have oolitic limestone. We can have other things that make ooids. In this case, it's the hematite. And really what they are, if you see this picture, are these little tiny round things, these little round concretions that are very distinct when you look at it closely with the hand lens. So that should be pretty easy when you're looking at the video when they point out that there are those little round spherical things on there. Next we get to kaolinite, and this is the one that I said you might confuse with chalk. It looks like chalk, but it's not made of calcium carbonate or calcite, it's made of silica. And silica does not react with hydrochloric acid. So that's the key here between telling kaolinite from calcite variety chalk. They both look like chalk. They both even write like chalk if you had them in your hand. But this one's going to fizz and this one is not. And they also have a slightly distinct smell. This one smells a little bit more earthy, but of course you can't smell it. All right, almost done here. Limonite is another ore. So again, this has a dark streak. And in this case, the mineral itself is sort of an earthy looking mineral, kind of like earthy means it looks like dirt a little bit. It doesn't look like a real shiny crystal. And it tends to have a very distinct yellow-brown streak. And here's a piece of limonite. This is kind of what it looks like. Doesn't look really like a single mineral, almost looks like some sort of rock, but it is a mineral. Finally, last but not least, we have opal. And opal can have a sort of waxy look to it. Sometimes its luster is described as waxy. It's made of cryptocrystalline quartz again. It's like the chalcedonies, where it's made of silica. However, it's a little bit softer than the chalcedonies and then quartz. So opal can be scratched with quartz, as opposed to the chalcedonies, which would be pretty equal with the quartz. Opal sometimes is difficult to tell from jasper, and the hardness is one way to do that. Now, when you think of opal, you might think of these opals, beautiful gems, and they have something called opalescence, which is a type of property that's very unique, where they reflect light a certain way. Uncut Gems is a movie that was recently out that was about opals. In any case, our opals are not going to look like that. They're going to look more like this. They're going to be white. You know, maybe if you rotated it in the light, you might see a little bit of this sheen. But basically, this is what our opal's going to look like in lab. So remember, you have your tables in the back of your lab to help you, especially once you've determined what your mineral is. Let's say you have opal. It'll help you fill out the rest of the chart. And here it does say, softer than chalcedony, may be banded. So there's always variations that you might see. So good luck. This lab should be pretty quick for you. And after this, we're going to move on to sedimentary rocks. So it's important that we have these minerals figured out.